This video was sponsored by, you guessed it, Tokyo Treat and Sakura. I've talked about a certain game called Love in Deep Space on my channel a few months back, and in their newest update, they announced that they were adding a new feature, reminders, special events, and most surprising, the period tracker. And what's crazy is that you'll never guess what kind of stuff I discovered because of it. Want a spoiler? A sentient manifestation of a period. Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Rosmo. And I've already made a separate video about Love in Deep Space having a period tracker along with my opinions and thoughts about it. But to summarize in this video, just know that I love the feature. But I understand that certain countries would be better off not using them, as the comments have told me, and you can check that video in the card above if you want to watch it yourself. But for those who don't know, a period tracker is basically what the name suggests. It tracks your period and it helps women get a rough estimate on when their next period will arrive that month, which is helpful to be more aware of it for a plethora of reasons. Like just generally knowing your body, helping find underlying issues if your time of the month is really late, or like simple things like avoiding surprise stains on your pants, or stack up on medicine and snacks to help the pain of the cramps. Basically a regular and absolutely normal thing to be experiencing. There are a lot of period tracker apps out there. Some have really helpful features, although through a paywall. I just never found the one that could stick with me, or I just didn't like the look of it. And it sort of helps that Love in Deep Space is a game that I'm currently playing all the time, so if I ever forget to check up on my period tracker like how I usually end up experiencing, I probably won't miss it now since I play the game daily. But that led me to a whole rabbit hole regarding women's health and hygiene, because I saw a Twitter post where there is a game franchise, Mr. Love Queen's Choice, which I also learned is from Infold, the same developers as Love in Deep Space, where they literally have menstrual pads with anime boys in it, and I don't mean just on the packaging, I mean on it. And listen, I get it. It's a good thing that Infold doesn't shy away from mentioning women's feminine hygiene and periods, and not making fun of it too, because aside from the weird napkin design that I think is pretty hilarious, they do have one scene in the game where MC has trouble with her period because she didn't have period pads, and ask one of the boys to get her one, and he does. That's it, plain and simple. I like how it's not a joke, it's not anything big or grand, it's just mentioning and acknowledging that this is a regular thing that happens, and showcasing some storytelling with it, with how normal and close these two characters have gotten. But of course, there is a difference between a period tracker and your favorite anime dude's face on your pussy. Lads, boys may be close to cats, but they can stay away from a certain cat, namely mine. Don't put Raphael's face on a period pad, please. I'm not mad or upset about it. I just think it's pretty funny. But then I got curious. What other Otome games have menstrual pads as merch? Besides Love in Deep Space's period tracker and Mr. Love Queen's Choice period pads, one comment from last video said that a game called For All Time did the period tracker feature back in 2021, but it wasn't available globally. But take that with a grain of salt because I couldn't find anything about it online. So besides those Chinese games, are there any other? The answer is none. Well, maybe there are anime franchises that slap the characters' faces on the packaging, right? I mean, they have Evangelion-themed eye drops, Attack on Titan laundry detergent, and even a magnitude of anime-themed perfume. So there probably was one like that for feminine hygiene, right? Yes, there was, and it was only one. Sailor Moon. And honestly, that made sense. I would love to get a Sailor Moon themed napkin. They don't have the characters' faces on the napkin, don't worry. They even have different types, like Sailor Jupiter and Moon are normal types, and then we got the rest for heavy flow. But is that it? I've seen so many things coming from Japan where they slap an anime character's face on a product, and somehow there's only Sailor Moon that is on a napkin? No other shoujo anime? Or maybe just a tampon or other feminine hygiene products. Then I was led to a related search that said tampon Naruto. And then it showed kunais, and then those little scroll things that explode. Okay? Help stop period permanently, apparently, is what Naruto's goal is. This might sound crazy, but I do not want any sharp objects near my hoo-ha, or a literal firecracker either, or smoke bomb, whatever it is. It's been a long time since I watched Naruto. Obviously, the suggested words led to nothing but random Naruto merch. I knew that much. So my little Google search trip led to nowhere, and I wasn't that invested in this topic to begin with. I mean, I was just curious, but at this point, I just locked in because I couldn't find anything. You can't tell me that the land that made all of these anime-themed household items only had one anime-themed period pad product. Japan also has weird unhinged anime and manga, and none of them involve periods and menstruation. And I'm not asking for it because if there was, there is a chance that it would be weird or fetishized, but there is a lot of weird on the internet, so I couldn't help but think we can have an Otome game where you can date literal poop, or an anime where girls can have dirty minds too and explore that aspect of girls' adolescence. But we draw the line with periods? Then, I learned that apparently women's feminine hygiene, or to be specific, periods and menstruation, are a taboo topic, and they try to avoid that topic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how it is in Japan. So I thought my search was going nowhere until I saw this. A certain manga that is all about women's menstrual cycle and is presented by a physical representation of a period, and it is called Little Miss P. Before I talk about Little Miss P, a quick word from our sponsors, Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. If you want to experience the taste of Japan in the comfort of your own home, then I got your quick fix. Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. are subscription boxes that send Japanese treats right to your doorstep. If you want a box with fun and crazy modern Japanese snacks, Tokyo Treat is perfect for you, but if you're itching to try some traditional and authentic snacks, Sakura Co. would be a perfect fit. This month, they are setting the stage for the Cherry Blossoms with Tokyo Treat's Sakura Night Snack Fest that brings you the charm of Japanese Yuzakura, or cherry blossoms at night. We've got the Twilight Truffle Chips, Sakura Matcha Wafers, and my favorite Matcha Latte Kit Kats. I love matcha, so I was really excited to get this Kit Kat flavor of all my time being sponsored by them. I have been waiting for this. And over on Sakura Co, they have the Moonlit Sakura that showcases the beauty of the nighttime viewing for the cherry blossoms. We got Sakura Dorayaki, Sakura Cream Cookie, some Sakura Hibiscus Tea, and for the featured tableware is the pretty Sakura Wagashi plate. Every month they have different themes, and each box has a magazine to tell you what's in the box, along with the ingredients and allergens. Use my promo code ROSMO to get $5 off of your first purchase. Thank you again, Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back. Now with how the cover looks, I was skeptical. I thought this was a silly, stupid, and probably just a gag manga that made fun of periods. But then I read the description, and then I read the background of the manga, and it changed my view of the manga before I could even read it. Let me guide you through what I have found. This manga was made in 2017, and it is about a representation of a period walking around and visiting women when it's their time of the month. This manga features different women who experience different types of Little Miss P, Little Miss Period, or in Japan, it's just called Seiri Chan. And to simplify her name, I'll just be calling her the latter for the rest of the video. And it was also made by a man called Koyama, and it was praised a lot, actually, and won some awards, praised by Anime News Network, and won the Tezuka Osamu Cultural Prize. He has a wife that is in his manga named Arigato Sachiko, so I guess I assumed he wrote this with the knowledge he has gotten with his wife. But like I said, there is so little information about this and the author that it genuinely makes me curious what motivated him to make this manga and what kind of research did he do, because you can tell that despite the silliness of the manga, the experience of having periods never became the butt of the joke. It's very relatable and sheds light of what women have to go through, but also clarifies some points on misunderstandings with living with it in a fun and lighthearted way. If you want to read it for yourself, please do, because it really is such a good read for everyone, at least in my opinion, and even includes what boys have to go through when they introduce another silly character called Mr. Libido. And this is what he looks like. I don't know if this is an accurate representation of what guys have to go through, so let me know. But the first chapter alone is relatable and funny, with Little Miss P punching a housewife named Akemi and even taking blood from her with a huge syringe, and she's just left in pain and feeling drained whenever the cramps come in. But that's not all. It also tackles how different women experience different kinds of Seiri Chans, where they show in the chapter Superheroine and Little Miss P, where one of the girls have a significantly smaller Seiri Chan than the other one. And from experience, I can tell you for sure that this is accurate, and I relate to this. I've had a smaller Seiri-chan, I guess we could call it that for now, all my life, wherein the cramps are there, but it wasn't bad enough for me to be unable to walk, unlike some of my friends in high school, where they just curl up in the chair and needing heating pads or anything warm just to soothe themselves a little bit. And in that chapter, it also tackles how Seiri-chan gives the other girls, a smaller Seiri-chan, a prostaglandin injection so she gets to feel what it's like to have bad cramps. And that's a real thing. I'm not a doctor or an expert on this, but it is something that the body produces, and it makes menstrual cramps more painful. And despite me not having severe period cramps, I've experienced this to the point where my vision went dark and I passed out in the mall, and my family had to bring me to the hospital only for the doctor to say everything is fine with what's going on down there. I could make a whole video about that whole incident, but right now I still have to talk about Seiri-chan because I first thought her design was silly, but reading the manga, I've kind of grown attached to this pink blob with huge lips. Like, I would love to have a Seiri-chan as a plush, or just hug it, or even a heating pad so Seiri-chan can comfort me while I'm having cramps, like what she does in the manga or the movie. And what's crazier is that this even had a live action adaptation. I watched it with my friends a while back, and compared to the manga, I think this adaptation is very different in terms of the vibes, and it took a more serious approach on the stories of the women involved, and it was fairly enjoyable and even tugged on my heartstrings a little bit. Seiri Chan brought a lot of things after the release of its movie, both good and bad, like how a department store in Osaka tried to implement a new system to their staff whenever they are menstruating. They were planning to wear a badge of Seiri Chan, and I already know what you're thinking. Yikes. I thought the same too. They were well-intentioned, but the execution was off. It is important to note that wearing badges aren't new to Japan, as those with health issues or pregnant women would wear badges when commuting. And I quote from this article from Grape Japan, according to the department store executive, the period badges were not compulsory and were meant to provide support for female employees. Nevertheless, the policy decision was widely criticized, customers and staff reported feeling uncomfortable, online reactions were scathing, and public outcry was venomous. Understandably, the managers of the Osaka department store were forced to reconsider the policy. And based on what I looked up, they did not go through with the proposed policy. I can understand wanting to find a way to be more mindful of women who are on their period, and we can all agree this was not the way, but there are other ways with how Japan is spreading awareness and correcting misinformation by talking about periods in one segment on the news, or going to schools and organizing seminars to talk about it, like what BA Japan is doing. And so to conclude this video, who knew that researching on women's hygiene would lead to a rabbit hole of learning more about periods that I myself weren't even aware of. It was really interesting, and I wish I could tell you guys more about it, like the things I read about what kind of stories Koyama Ken, the author of Seiri Chan, writes, and the thought process behind it, or how Seiri Chan used to have merch and even line stickers. But this video is getting too long already, so I'll add some links in the description that I've referenced and used for this video if you want to look more into it. But circling back to Lads or Love in Deep Space, my headcanon is that if Love in Deep Space made period pad merch with the boys' faces on it, which I know for a fact that they won't, I thought it would be so accurate and hilarious if MC would use the period pads of Xavier, and he'd get really jealous of his own merch because that man just gets jealous of everything, like including himself. I'm not even kidding. Anyway, that's all for this video. Please be respectful in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this little deep dive and kind of like a yapping video I just did. If you guys like this kind of content where I just gush about things I've learned, let me know. I really enjoy making this kind of video. So yeah, big thanks to my patrons: The Land of Dreams, Kiran, Christian V, Scar Aidenham, Galchua, Mindhack, Jacob K, Mila, Jokerzad, Gungelian, Aniushi, Conjure, Orda Star, Stale Toaster, King Jordy, and Kuya Daniel.